question that we have to ask. So where it is going wrong? We are not following Swami Vivekananda. What he told more than 100 years ago, what the UNESCO points out, it's not only how to do, but we must teach our children how to be, how to live the life. What is life, what is the meaning of life, and how to lead it. This also has to be taught. When both of these aspects are taken care of, then only education becomes complete. So it's not only about how to operate the machine, but also the man who is operating the machine, that also becomes equally important. The man who is operating the machine, he also becomes equally important. How he is, or how he behaves, how he thinks. So now, this education, as Swami Vivekananda points out, for that primary instrument for acquiring this education is mind. Mind is the primary instrument. And unless this mind is trained properly, remember, all other skills and other things, they cannot be utilized properly. So that is why Swami Vivekananda stresses more importance for this training of this mind. He points out in one place, if I have to undergo my education over again, I would not gather information. Rather, I would learn how to concentrate my mind. Then I would gather information at will. The statement, if I had to undergo my education over again, first I would learn how to concentrate my mind. Then I could gather information at will. Now this lack of concentration, what's happening is that a lot of things are going inside. Without understanding whether they are true or not, without understanding whether they are beneficial or not, these things are going inside. And what goes inside comes out in the form of thought. That is the process of our mind. That is how our mind works. Whatever goes inside, that comes out in the form of thought. Sri Ramakrishna. So he points out that whatever you eat, that's what you belch. And if you eat radish, the smell of radish, that's what you belch. No, oh, that's what we say. What smell comes out? Whatever food we take in. If we eat raw onion, smell of raw onion comes out. In the same way, whatever ideas that put in your mind, the same idea comes out in the form of thought. Now, all of us are well aware, our action, they depend upon our thoughts. All our actions depend upon our thoughts. In the same way, our speech, that depends upon our thoughts. Our behavior, that depends upon our thoughts. And all these things are dependent on the thoughts. So that is why purifying this thought process, we have to take care of that. Purifying this thought process. How to do that? This mind is a versatile instrument. Mind is a versatile instrument. When it is trained properly, it becomes a very good friend of us. The same mind, when it's untrained, becomes our greatest enemy. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. Mind is the reason, mind is the cause for our bandhana. And the same way, moksha, to become free also. Now for both of them, mind is the cause. Mind can make us dependent upon others because of not getting trained properly, and make us thinking in such a way, we having all those things also, we will not have anything. That's what's happening in the present condition. Man having all the amenities of life, but still hankering for something which he does not know, running after something he does not know what actually it is. That is the condition. It is just like the cows. Now, if you have seen that nature of the cows, when they are tied in a line, and you put the hay in front of them to eat, what the cow does, instead of eating the hay in front of it, it tries to eat the hay in front of another cow. First, it goes there. In the same way, our condition, we have all the amenities, thinking, instead of thinking of using them first, we are thinking about what we do not have, what someone else is having. That is our condition. We have everything, but we do not have anything. That is why it happens, because mind is not trained to think properly. Mind is not trained to behave properly. These are all the reasons. So that is why this training has to be given. This training has to be given. And for that, that is called in our Shastras, they call it tapas. This training is called tapas. Tapas means shauchakriya, cleansing. Cleansing. This tapas means cleansing. So tapas means to burn. Tapa means to burn. To burn means to purify. You know that. Suppose if there is the gold and probably some other metal has been mixed with it, then if you want to purify that, you have to put it in the fire. And then all the impurities are burnt, and ultimately we get the pure gold. That is how cleansing takes place. In the same way, mind also requires tapas. And there are three kinds of tapas. In tapas there are three kinds. One is sharirika, that is the physical one. Another is vachika, that is the words. And another is manasika. These three kinds of tapas. Sri Krishna talks about them in Bhagavad Gita. So he talks about that, to train this mind, we have to follow these three processes. Training of the body, training of the speech, and training of the mind. These three things should take place, because whatever action we do, that influences our mind. Whatever words we utter, that influences our mind. In the same way, whatever thought we think, that also influences our mind. So now, when these things are purified, these are the inputs, remember. Inputs that are going inside. Then if they are purified, then what happens? Then our personality also gets purified. So that's why Bhagavad Gita points out, first of all, Kayika Tapasya, what is that? Deva Dvijaguru Prajna Pujanam, Shauchamarjavam, Brahmacharya Mahimsacha, Shariram Tapa Uchyate. One must take care about the body and its actions. So it talks about Deva Pujana. This body of ours has got different faculties, and through them we must worship God. And usually we think, God is there in the temple or in heaven or something like that. But Swami Vivekananda points out, each soul is potentially divine. It's not only just in the temple or somewhere, he is in the heart of all living beings. Deva Pujana. That means all our work, whatever work we do, whatever profession we do, it's puja actually. It's actually a puja, a worship of God. So it can be converted. So Deva Pujana, Deva, Dvija. Dvija means a learned person, a man of learning. He must be served. We must serve him so that we get knowledge from him. Deva, Dvija, in the same way, Guru is the guide. Guide must be served. Serving the Guru is an integral part of our Indian culture. Tadvidhi pranipadena pariprashna sevaya. When it comes to gaining knowledge, we have to approach the Guru. Tadvidhi, learn that. Pranipadena, by surrendering oneself. Then pariprashnena, by asking proper questions. The same way, sevaya, by serving. That is the part of education system. So Deva, Dvija, Guru, then Prajna, a wise man, a man of understanding. So such persons, they must be worshipped, they must be served. Then Shaucham, purification of the body, that also body must be kept clean. The same way, Arjavam, Rujutva, in our behavior. Rujutva in our behavior. The truth. If I say this is my profession, when I say I talk about some profession demands certain behavior. Profession demands certain behavior. So behaving accordingly is called Rujutva. That's called the Rujutva. When we talk about the teachers, what teacher is expected to do? Must be kind to the students. That's part of the teacher's profession, the behavior. So when you behave likewise, then that is called the Rujutva. Arjavam. Then Brahmacharyam, going in the part of seeking the Brahman. In our Indian tradition, the primary goal of human life is to realize God, realize our own nature. And whatever effort we do in that direction is called Brahmacharya, going towards the God realization. Even purification of mind also is marching towards God, because it is a process. So that is why Brahmacharya, ahimsa, not hurting others. Not hurting others. Shariram tapochyate. Now, thereby we are purifying our body. So that's what this shaucha has to take place. Then, vachika tapasya, words. How it happens? Anudvega karam vakyam, satyam priyahitam ched, swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva, vangmayam tapochyate. Krishna points out. Shri Krishna. So he says, anudvega karam vakyam. When we speak, how it should be, it should not excite others. Anudvega karam vakyam. It should not excite others. Many times, knowingly, unknowingly, we elicit a reaction, a tremendous reaction from others. Must be careful about this. Words carry tremendous power. Words carry, they can make an impression on another person. And through words we can make friends, we can make enemies also. In the same way we can create tremendous impression. A kind word to someone, in time, that works in such a way. One doctor, professor, chemistry professor in Ranchi Women's College, she writes about an incident in her life. So there was a girl in her classroom, girl student studying first year BSc chemistry, and all other students were participating in the classroom activities, whereas this girl was not at all involving herself in anything, just keeping there in a corner, sitting there, and just attending the classes regularly and going back. And after observing her for a few days, she discussed the matter in the staff room with other faculties who were teaching other subjects. All of them told, yes, we have seen. She does not come out. Come out means, she's introvert. She does not speak, she does not socialize. So now all these things were discussed. Then this Dr. Alpana Ghosh, she decided to talk to the student. Maybe the student may be having some problem. So she called that student. Her name was Sunita. She came and she asked her, see, I have seen you coming to the classroom, attending, but seems to be reticent. Probably you are not interested in study. That's what it appears. Is it true? If it is so, what is the problem? When in the beginning she was not responding, but slowly when she took her into confidence, that girl told her an incident that happened for about 5-6 months before that. One day in Ranchi, comes in Bihar, the place and all those things, the situation. When she was going with her brother for studying in the 11th standard, some 5-6 youngsters came and started teasing this girl. And then her brother protested, which ultimately led to a fight where her brother was beaten. And he was beaten so badly that it ultimately damaged his backbone. He had to be rushed to the hospital immediately, put in the ICU. And he was struggling with pain. She had seen all these things which made her to go into shed. A guilty consciousness entered. Because of me, my brother had to suffer. This guilty consciousness entered her. Wherever she goes, this idea was haunting her. She could not come out of that. So parents used to ask her to go to the college, and that's why she used to come there, sit in the classes and go home. That's how the things were going on. And when This professor, Dr. Alpana Ghosh, she came to know about that. She told her, have you ever read Swami Vivekananda? Then she told him the importance of Swami Vivekananda, and also ultimately told her one thing, that Swami Vivekananda has told, face the brutes, never run away from the brutes. And she told her the incident of Swami Vivekananda's life, where in Varanasi, when he was walking as a wandering monk, Parivrajaka sannyasi, few monkeys started chasing him. And Swami Vivekananda wanted to escape. He started running. And when they came to know that he is running, he is escaping, they started chasing him faster and they were about to catch him. In that situation, someone shouted at Swami Vivekananda, stop and face the brutes. And Swami Vivekananda, with that walking stick in his hand and that tremendous personality, turned back and started chasing them, and these monkeys ran away. Swami Vivekananda cites this example quite a few times. Says that face the brutes. Running away from the problem is not the way. Escaping from problem is not the way. You have to face the situation. Now, this professor told her, you see, this your brood, that enemy is not outside, it's in your own mind. So drive away that guilty consciousness. See, you have tremendous future before you. If you study well, you have tremendous power. Swami Vivekananda points out, there is tremendous power within you. You can do anything and everything. And she presented a book of Swami Vivekananda to her. She took that, this girl took those books, and that impressed her a lot. Now face the brutes. She started thinking on that lines. She started thinking on those lines. Then went home, discussed the matter with her brother, and they started reading those quotations of Swami Vivekananda which was there in that book. And they procured some more books of Swami Vivekananda every day, discussing about that. What happened slowly, there was a change in her outlook. Yes, I must do something. She came back after a few days. This Alpana Ghosh, Dr. Alpana Ghosh met this girl once again. She told her, there is some change in you. But then what I would suggest you is that join NCC. Join NCC. That will help you to develop tremendous power, mental power. That will make you stronger. That will help you to develop willpower. And this girl, advised by this professor, joined at NCC. And what happened was, slowly, she was able to come out of that feeling, that guilty consciousness. And not only that, she was, as it is, she was brilliant. And she improved her study. And ultimately, she was able to mix with others. And not only that, after a few years, she passed her BSc with the first class. And then she went. And all those things were over. After about 5-6 years, or maybe about 7-8 years, this Dr. Alpana Ghosh writes that when she was having that labs, chemistry labs, someone brought a visiting card. Lieutenant S. Tirki wants to meet you. And who is this Lieutenant S. Tirki? I do not know who wants to meet me. That's what she was thinking. And then when she came out, it was this Sunita. She was surprised in her military dress. She was a army lieutenant. After completing her graduation, she underwent training, and ultimately she could join the army, where she ultimately rose to the level of lieutenant, and she was very happy. And not only that, she told her, Madam, you gave that words that day. You have showed me the path, and this is the result. What I am today is the result of the path that was shown by you. At the right time, those words came. Now you see, this is what Anudvega Karam Vakyam, the words, the effect of the words. Words, when they come from a person in a proper time, then what happens? They make this impression on the listener's mind, and they can change. And this girl had gone into a shell. Probably she would have ruined her whole life. And that girl, now she was standing in front of her, as a lieutenant, army lieutenant, you can just imagine the kind of change that would be brought. Now this is what the Bhagavad Gita talks about. Anudvegakaram vakyam. Then satyam. Priyahitam chayat. Satyam and priyam. Remember, we must speak the truth. Sometimes in our obsession of speaking truth, we start speaking harsh truth unnecessarily. If someone is not looking well, calling the person ugly is not the way. It's not the proper way. That may be truth. But it's a very harsh truth. How can you tell someone on the face? It's not proper. So that is why what is to be told, what truth is to be told, Satyam Priya Hitam Chayat. Speech, how it should be, how controlled our speech should be. And whatever we speak must be hita, must do good to the person who is listening. This is very important. As teachers, you must always remember. Because when you are there in the classroom, your eyes are only 2, and there will be 100 eyes looking at you. You are single from your side, and there will be 50 people watching you. That means they are falling on 50 pair of ears. Remember those words. And one of them can make an impression, such an impression that can change the life of a person. Please remember, this Vachika Tapasya is very important for you as teachers. Anudvegakaram vakyam, satyam, priyam, hitam chayat. So then, this words must be used in another way also. What is it? Swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva. Swadhyaya. Being teachers, updating the knowledge, that's very important. Swadhyaya is the way. Swadhyaya is the way, study, regular study. Because that's what gives us positive thinking. That's what gives us different kinds of ideas. Study, regular study. And Swadhyaya abhyasanam, teaching. And whatever we have learned, that must be passed on to others. This knowledge what we have. So Swadhyaya and abhyasanam chaiva. Vangvayam tapa uchyate. To purify our speech, we require this. This has to be practiced as a tapas. This has to be practiced as a tapas. Then manasika tapasya. Sharirika and vachika. Then comes the manasika tapasya. What is that? So it says that manaprasara saumyatvam, maunam atma vinigraha, bhava samshuddhirityeta tapo manasa uchyate. Mana prasara. Mind must be in a happy mood, in a blissful mood. That's very important for a mind. Enthusiastic. We need this kind of mind. Mind which is enthusiastic. Mana prasada. Maintaining that is a difficult thing. Because life is full of problems. We have to face different kinds of situations. In the midst of all these things, can we maintain a calm and an enthusiastic mind? And it's very important. It's very important. Manaprasada. Then saumyatvam. Saumya, that's very, very important. It should not become harsh. Saumyatvam. Mauna. Now to train the mind, mauna is very important. Why should we practice mauna? To look into ourselves. We have to stop for some time to talk with anybody, maybe 2-3 hours, maybe one day, sit in mauna. Then what do we do there? Look into ourselves, our own personality, introspection. This introspection has to be done through mauna. Then we understand, in our day-to-day activities, when we are engaged with our day-to-day activities, we will be doing so many things which may not be correct. We do not understand. We do not understand when we are engaged in those works. But when we retreat ourselves into a solitary place and start introspecting about our behavior, about our speech, etc., then slowly we realize these are the things that we have to correct. What happens when we were children, parents and teachers, others would correct us. But once we grow up, we develop certain habits unknowingly. Nobody will correct us. Because we are already responsible persons. Nobody will correct us. Then who has to correct us? We ourselves. And this is the method. Maunam. Then Atma Vinigraha. Self-control. This is very important when it comes to training of the mind. What is self-control means? Not to run after unnecessary things. Should understand what is necessary for us, what is not necessary for us. This mind is such a thing that many times it runs after things which are not necessary. Just a desire comes to our mind. Then probably someone is having something and we also want to have. Why do we want to have? Because another person is having that. Mind runs after that. You see that. Now sometimes people become helpless running after that and they spoil their whole life. So that is why Atma Nigraha is very important. Controlling our mind. Maunam Atma Vinigraha. Then Bhava Samshuddhi. Purification of the mind. What is this purification of mind? These are all the efforts that we are doing. So something goes inside the mind through our speech, through our interaction with others, through our actions, through our behavior. All these ideas go inside, they make impression on the mind. Now we must be aware which one is good and which one is bad. Develop that ability to understand and decide what is good and what is bad. It's called the intellect, it's called the viveka. Bhava Samshuddhi. Must develop that viveka to understand what is good and what is bad and follow the right path, follow the good. That's very important. Bhava Samshuddhi ityeta tapo manasa muchyate. Now, these three, Kayika, Vachika and Manasika, and we perform this tapasya. So what, in a nutshell, this Kayika, Manasika and Vachika tapasya means? Kayika means, body must be healthy, body must be strong, body must be pure. Must keep it in a healthy condition. Because Sharira Madhyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam. Whatever we want to do, body is the primary instruments. So we know that. So it must be kept in a healthy condition. So that is why taking regular exercise, proper food and all those things, thereby we must keep our body healthy. Suppose body is not active, it affects our mind also. So body is dull, body is lazy, it affects the mind, mind also becomes lazy. So that's why we must be careful about this. So that's what we call the Kayika Tapasya. Then Vachika Tapasya, our words. We must be aware of what we are speaking, where we are speaking. And the same way, Swadhyaya, regular study. So all those things are very important. And our speech should not, excite others. So that's what is very important. Should not disturb others unnecessarily, troubling others. Himsa, Manasika Himsa we give by passing on some comments unnecessarily, without any necessity. We do that. We develop that habit. We must understand that. We must desist from such practices. So that's what's called the Vachika Tapasya. And regular study and regular pravachana, that's all about teaching, all those things. So that should go on. So this is what's called the Vachika Tapasya. Then comes the Manasika Tapasya. So mentally also, we must proper thinking, purifying this mind, keeping calm, and the enthusiasm, maintaining that enthusiasm. These are all the Manasika Tapasya. When we have them, and that Kayika Tapasya also points out Deva Puja, Deva Puja and all these things. When we have them in our personality, then what happens? We are purifying our personality. This kind of personality is required, where we speak properly, we behave properly, we think in a proper manner. Otherwise, teacher's profession that demands certain values. Teacher must be fit enough to teach. And usually we think we are teaching a subject, it may be mathematics, it may be science, something like that. If I am good at mathematics, that is sufficient. Why should you bother about my character, my behavior, the way I speak and everything? If I teach the subject, it's all right. Many times this question is asked, but it is wrong. Why it is wrong? Whether you know or not, you will be influencing the students, your listeners. Every day they come and listen to you, and you will be making an impression on their mind. When you behave well, it gives a very good impression on them. And if you behave wrongly, that gives a wrong impression on their mind. That's why a teacher must be extremely careful. This profession of a teacher demands that you must behave well, you must speak well, and you must think also well. Otherwise, what happens when a teacher does not have this personality? Avidyaya mantare vartamana swayam dhira panditam manyamana dandramyamanam priyanti muda andhenaiva niyamanaya tandha. So that's what the Upanishad says. Avidyaya mantare, they themselves are in ignorance. Such people, they try to lead others. Andhenaiva niyamanaya tandha. So they try to lead others. They themselves are ignorant. Then what's happening here? A blind leading the blind, both of them falling into the ditch. That should not happen. That should not happen. So a teacher must be aware of these things. A teacher must be aware of what's happening all around the world and what is passed on. Their words, their behavior that influences the thought process of the student must be aware of these things. So purifying this word, this thinking, this behavior is called the real shaucha. And then when we follow this shaucha, then what happens? Personality comes out. And a person with a good character, can be an ideal teacher. And a person with character alone can be a good and efficient teacher. This has to be understood very clearly, whether you like it or not. You may ask so many questions about this, but profession of a teacher demands that teacher must have that character. Because through your words, through your actions, you'll be influencing hundreds of those students who come under your influence. And we know that by experience, how they are influenced. I told you the example of that Dr. Alpana Ghosh and that Sunita, Lieutenant Sunita. How a one kind word at the right time changed the life of one student, whole life of a student. In this kind of situation will come to you many times. So what is very important? Swami Vivekananda says, there should be kindness in the heart of the teacher. And teacher should go down to the level of the students and teach the student from that level. And also teacher must understand that students are not zeros. Children are not zeros. There are talent in them. And this so-called teaching process, what is this teaching process? Education is the manifestation of the perfection already in man. They have that knowledge, they have the required talent. And what is to be done? Remove the obstruction. What is the main obstruction? It is the mind. Mind is the main obstruction. Remember, for education, mind is the primary instrument. When this mind is trained properly, then what happens? It becomes a versatile instrument. But if the same mind is not trained properly, if it is untrained, then it becomes the number one enemy of that individual. So this is what is called the life skill. Understanding and implementing this particular aspect is called the life skill. So Swami Vivekananda says, we want an education by which character is formed first, then strength of mind is increased, instilling that confidence, making that mind strong. That is part of the education. The intellect is expanded, outlook about life and our feeling for others. That's what's called, that's what develops. Education should help us. Many times we find people confine themselves to the subject. No, I deal with students, youngsters, who are graduates, undergraduates. Such students come to me. And many times I have the opportunity to interact with them. What do I find? They pass through the education process, but then Their understanding of the word is so limited. It is so limited. You ask them, do you have a reading habit? Yes, Swami, I have a reading habit. What do you read? The reading habit is, what? Employment news and cinema news in the newspaper, and also sports. Very, very few of them go beyond that. They're reading textbooks and nothing else. Such a narrow outlook about life. So Swami Vivekananda said, education should help us to develop our intellect, expand our heart, understanding about others, understanding about what's happening all around the world. And Swami Vivekananda also points out, if that outlook is not expanded, if we become limited, we become frog in the well. Swami Vivekananda used the example, frog in the well. And Swami Vivekananda also told the youngsters of the time, when he came back from the West, he told, see, if you are frog in the well, this degradation continues. You have to go out to different countries. All of us know Swami Vivekananda being a sannyasi. There were many people, Orthodox people, they objected Swami Vivekananda going to America. They told, you are a sannyasi, you should not cross that black water. That was the limitation. Swami Vivekananda told them, you see, the day you invented that word, then onwards the degradation of this country has taken place. What is the reason? You are not allowing the new water to come inside. You are not allowing the new ideas to come inside. You have put a fence around you. You have become a frog in the well. What's happening all over the world? You are not aware of that. Different kinds of developments. So, development of this intellect. That's very important. Intellect is expanded, and by which one can stand on one's own feet. That is education. Standing on one's own feet. That should form the part of the education. What is standing on one's own feet? Usually we understand it to be economical freedom, economical independence. That is not the only point. The point is that ability to think and take decision independently without getting influenced by others, thinking and taking a decision properly. Most of the time, we'll find on our process, the present generation, how it is going is that we do the things which all others are doing. We do the things which all others are doing. A lecturer who teaches the computer science in an engineering college, he told me once, Swami, nowadays our youngsters are becoming software engineers by default. Not by choice, but by default. So what they do? You have got this much of marks, well, go for software engineer. No, what happens in the computer, there is something called default choice. Though there are two choices, yes or no, the cursor always points to one choice. You go on entering that, and ultimately some result you will get. And that is what is the result of our engineers, modern engineers, software engineers, he told. They never think whether am I interested in that? Should I go for this course? Is it going to give me job satisfaction? Nothing of the sort. Just why you are doing or opting for the software engineering. So that's what I also want to do. All are doing, that's what I am also doing. So this is what Swami Vivekananda points as slavery. It's not independence. It's a mental slavery. It's an intellectual slavery. Come out of that, Swami Vivekananda says. Whatever you do, think well on that. Before you think well on that, Swami Vivekananda points out. Because you have to take a decision. You have to take a decision, a proper decision. Ultimately, that decision should benefit you and benefit the society. It should not go against your wish, your welfare, and it should not go against the welfare of the society. You have to think and take a decision. And this is what is lacking in our modern generation. But Swami Vivekananda says we must instill that thinking capability. So this ability to stand on one's own feet. Otherwise, what happens now? Our youth energy nowadays is used in a wrong way. A few years ago, I remember I had gone to Mangalore in Karnataka, And there is a place, very prominent place in front of a college, a government college, where a procession of students was going on. Students were going in procession with placards and everything, some demands. I was just watching there because I could not cross the road. I had to wait for some about 3-4 minutes till that procession goes. And then I thought, let me understand what actually is happening, why they are protesting. I stopped 4 or 5 students. So one by one, he asked them, each individual, what's happening, why you are protesting? Then that boy looked at me and told, our leader is coming behind you, please ask him. Obviously, he is going in a procession, protesting for something, and there are some placards also, some Jindabad and all those things. But actually, why that protest he does not know. And it is the case of in many things. That is the case of many things. Without thinking, we do. Someone comes and incites some emotion, and we go on, going in the procession, protesting and all those things. And because of which the buses are burned, the property is burned. Many times you go and ask those individuals who burn the buses, individually call them, ask them, is it not wrong to burn the bus? Because we have paid tax. They say, yes, it is wrong to do that. But then when they go in a mob, they forget everything, they become brutes. Why? No thinking capability. This is what Swami Vivekananda says. Until we instill this capability, intellect, viveka, that should develop, then education will not succeed. Any amount of education is not going to succeed. It will not help us to develop, but rather it will be self-destructive. That's what's happening. We see every day. Now the crore has got no value. Earlier, about 10 years ago, we used to think about the lakhs. So Lakshadhisha, if you call someone was a very big person. Now Kotyadhisha also is not a big person. And it's coming by thousands. These crores are coming out by thousands, scams of thousands of crores of rupees. This is what's happening. And all of them are done by the so-called educated people. That means instead of helping us, it's becoming self-destructive. So that's why Swami Vivekananda told, we must instill that viveka, proper thinking and proper understanding that is there already in us. So education by which character is formed, strength of mind is increased, the intellect is expanded, and by which one can stand on one's own feet. That is the real education, and that is the real value. Of course, I know that you are all teachers. You have practical difficulties in implementing this because you have your own constraints. You have to compare notes. Always a parent comes and tells, you are asking my son or daughter to do this, but there is so much of study, whether the child should do this study or this. There are so many things, all these kinds of constraints. But one thing I tell you, that as teachers, you are in a unique place. What is a unique place? Students will have tremendous confidence in you. A devotee once when I came and told, child was doing something, and then the father went and asked the child, why are you doing this? Oh, my teacher has told. With so much of confidence. So much of confidence. Now, this is what is an important aspect that you have to remember. So when such is the case, if you want to instill values, if you want to pass on good information, good messages, etc., maybe an incident, maybe a story. Remember, values cannot be taught directly. They cannot be taught. You cannot direct anyone to behave like this, like that, or something. But you can give an example and tell the child how nicely this person has behaved. Or if there is a wrong one, see how hopeless that person is. That will make a tremendous impression on the child's mind. What is appreciated by the teacher must be good. What is not appreciated by the teacher must be bad. It's that idea. Thereby, we can impress upon their mind about proper thinking, proper behavior, etc. That is possible. It cannot happen, minute by minute basis, but at least once in a while you get an opportunity in the classroom. So, within this limited opportunities, and apart from that, as I have told you, the personality of the teacher, that makes tremendous impression on the child, on the student. So thereby imbibing that, they say a lighted lamp can light another lamp. So being such an example and imbibing these values and passing on to the students, probably this is the best way to speak about the values and practicing those values. And that's of course in your grasp. I am also a teacher. I do not say that you are different from me, because being the in charge of that institute where we have more than 6,000 students, every day I have to speak to them. Those students come and I see them when we give Swami Vivekananda's ideas, examples of the life from the great people, how they take it positively, how they change. Only this idea has to be given. They have tremendous power within them to manifest their talent. So these are some ideas. Of course, there will be further discussions on this particular topic. So, if any one of you have some doubts about this, whatever I have spoken, you can ask. Just 1 or 2 minutes time we have. Any one of you can just ask. Let us discuss about that. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, when we say celibacy, we are using that word in a very limited sense. We are using brahmacharya. Word brahmacharya means whether it's celibacy or treading the path of God. That's what the question. When we use it as in many places it's used to term, as celibacy, but that is not the only thing. That becomes a very limited understanding of that word. Treading the path of Brahman. Brahman means God. Going towards God. That is the aim of Hinduism. In Hinduism we talk about that. So this, our every action ultimately help us to lead towards that. So we should tune ourselves in such a way. I was talking about, worship of God in man. So God is in the heart of all living beings. Whatever service we do others, it's a worship of God. Now, this is what? Converting our duty, the profession itself, into a puja, into a worship. That becomes a brahmacharya. That becomes brahmacharya. So it means that. In that sense, yes. Yeah.
Words are very powerful.
Yeah.
So, is action also equally powerful? Like, I can speak sweet words, but when I speak out the word, my action can hurt the other person than the words that I speak.
Yeah.
So, is it both I can take it, or is it only the words?
Yeah. Very good, important question. So, are words only important or the action also? Now you see, we have discussed the word that Arjava. So in that Arjava, Rujutva means we should be true to our words. Now the mere words, if they are not backed up with that action, they will not have value. Action is also equally important. Otherwise, what happens, that what we call hypocrisy comes into play. Hypocrisy comes into play. We only want to teach the people, but we do not want to follow that. That is not the way. That's why I told your words and the actions. Words are powerful. Equally powerful are the actions. Because, as teachers, you will be teaching the students different ways. As I told they will be observing the way you speak, the way you behave, the way you do the things. All those things are observed. Many times, many of the things that we do are imitated by one of our teachers. They are imitated unknowingly or unknowingly. We imbibe, we can call it imbibe. We imbibe those things from our teachers. This is what happens. Need not have to tell directly, but action speaks. Action speaks for itself. The same with the words also. Words become powerful when it is backed up with action. If it is not backed up with action, mere words will not have any value. When Swami Vivekananda went to America, he addressed the Parliament of Religions. So there he addressed, all of us know that, he uttered the words, sisters and brothers of America. Only this much. The 7,000 strong audience stood up on their feet. For 2 minutes they went on applauding. Remember, that was his first speech, and he did not know anyone among the audience. And he was going from India, which was completely a foreign country, and not only that, they did not have these American people did not have a very good idea about India. They had a negative idea. In spite of that, when he stood in front of them and spoke those words, sisters and brothers of America, 7,000, they stood on their feet. Many people say, others were telling ladies and gentlemen, and Swami Vivekananda told brothers and sisters, that is why they applauded. That is not the truth. There are researches that have been done. Before Swami Vivekananda, already there were 2-3 gentlemen who had addressed that gathering as sisters and brothers. It was not Swami Vivekananda was not the first person. But then why it created such an impression? Swami Vivekananda says, tremendous character behind that. Tremendous character behind that. He says, all through my life, I did whatever I thought to be true. Says, whatever I thought to be true, I did that. This was Swami Vivekananda, Arjava, Rujutva, tremendous character, tremendous personality. Otherwise what happens? Hypocrisy comes. We think something, but then we do something else. Then what happens? There will be lack of character. That such character, such personality will not carry that power. Words from a person of character, that carries that value. And it's not those words alone, but it is the character behind those words that spoke and make them to respond likewise. This is what Swami Vivekananda himself says. So that is why it's not just the words, but also the actions. It should be backed up by actions. Should back up with an action. So our behavior, our words, and of course our thinking. There should be a harmony in these three. No, that's what's called the Rujutva. When there is a harmony in our thoughts, in our speech, and in our action. That's called the Rujutva. Very good. I am extremely happy to exchange few ideas. So think about them, and whatever you think that is correct, try to imbibe them. Our only wish is that this kind of idea should be passed on to your students, because you are all teachers, passed on to students so that ultimately they will be the beneficiaries. So may Swami Vivekananda inspire you all. This is my prayer to you. Thank you.